Today we're talking Square or Block stock earnings. We're talking about the headlines, the financial and the key business metrics, and we've only got 5 minutes for that. Let's go. In terms of the earnings headlines, we've got Block beating on the adjusted earnings per share, came in at 27 cents versus an analyst's expectation or prediction of 22 cents. Revenue came in at a match at around $4.1 billion for the fourth quarter of 2021. And gross payment volume was beat as well at a $46.3 billion compared to an analyst expectation of $46 billion. So our business and financial metrics are going to be split into two categories. We have the Cash App and Cash Card on one side, and we've got Square, the original business, on the other side. One focus by management of this earnings report was clearly the Cash Card, which can be used in conjunction with the Cash App that was already successful, trying to get this expanded as well. So we can see that in terms of the spend of the Cash Card in Q4 2021, by the top 250 merchants, we have quite a diversified portfolio, and this is what they wanted to see, that they're basically using the Cash Cards for everything else like other retail, restaurants, gas and auto and grocery and so on. So in terms of the Cash Card being used in conjunction with the Cash App, we can see that in the last 3 years this has been steadily growing, now to being 13 million of the 44 million transactions and representing a 31 Cash Card attach rate when using the Cash App. So in terms of Square key metrics, we've got the GPV mix here. The GPV means gross payment volume. So representing this graph showing what has been spent by customers that are spending more than 500,000, less than 125,000, or somewhere in between. We can see that each one of these groups or each one of these mixes is steadily growing from, for instance, 8.8 billion for the higher one to 15.7 billion, or for the lower one down here for 11.7 million, now growing to 14.5 billion for the smaller merchants. So we can see that every group of merchants or types of customers are growing steadily, using more and more of the Square network. And you can see further down here, as Square expands the mix of products that they're offering, we have more and more customers using more than 4 products at a time, which is what they want to achieve, having their ecosystem in place, being a one-stop shop for everything. And one more important thing to mention here, as Square is already getting saturated in the US market, they're exponentially growing in the international market, representing now 9% of gross profit, and you can see how it's exponentially growing for the last few quarters. Coming now to the financial metrics for the quarter here first. So the gross profit has actually increased to $1.18 billion, representing around a 58 to 59% of gross margin, which is pretty strong. Year-on-year growth we can see here is 47%. And on a 2-year compounded annual growth rate, this represents a 50%, very, very strong. If they can keep this up like that, I think this is why the market also reacted in a positive way to the earnings. And in terms of the gross payment volume, we still got Square being a significant portion of the overall volume, and they just keep expanding. So representing now 92% of the gross payment volume of $46.3 billion. Cash App is steadily growing, but has been flattened out in the last year. But when we look at the year-on-year numbers, there will be a different picture. And looking at the cash flow statement, we do have some good operating cash flow coming in compared to last year, now almost at $850 million. In terms of cash flow from investing activities, that is definitely lower than before. Heavily increased here the purchase of marketable debt securities this year, but also other areas such as Bitcoin investments and business combination. As we know, they have acquired Afterpay, which the transaction has settled now at the end of January in 2022. And we can see that obviously hopefully impacting them positively going forward. When looking at the financing, we can see that there is some new unsecured notes being issued. Company has been raising money to fund the business, to fund the expansion and also the acquisitions that we've seen. So I think overall the market has reacted strongly to this, up almost 25% on the day when those earnings were released. I think the real reason why it went up was it went down so much before. The market basically writing off the business, writing off any fintech related business, now seeing that the numbers still consistent with previous quarters and still growing on a year-to-year basis. And I think that's why their market actually reacted in the way they did. It wasn't that the numbers blew everyone out of the park, but it was basically a confirmation that this is still working, the business is still growing, they're making good gross margin, and yeah, the worries are not that justified. I hope you like this short format. Let me know in the comments below and see you next time.